From the time humans began fighting each other, they have always been thinking about protecting their most important achievements. But with the invention of modern weapons, is there still a safe haven in the world? Even the safest places that humans have been able to build, and even nuclear bunkers, are now highly vulnerable to bunker-buster bombs that can easily penetrate 6 meters of reinforced concrete. But like any war, two fronts are facing each other in this battle: military engineering and construction engineering. Like any other battle, here too, whenever one side gains the upper hand, it often doesn't take long for the other side to restore the balance. But now, new advances in concrete technology may soon become the endpoint for even the most advanced and largest bunker-buster bombs in the world. In this video, we examine bunker-buster bombs known as MOPs and their capabilities, as well as advances in concrete technology that have been used in the construction of Iranian underground bases. And we assess the possibility and extent of the effectiveness of an attack on Iranian underground facilities with these weapons. If you are interested in this topic, please subscribe to the Top Strategist channel and stay with us until the end of this video. The war between offensive weapons and defensive shields has been going on for thousands of years. From ancient times, kings built walls and fortresses of mud and stone to keep invaders out of their territory. Tools such as catapults were quickly made that could break these fortifications. But as obstacles and the thickness of defensive layers increased, catapults also lost their effectiveness until cannons and iron balls entered the field. In the next stage, the advent of reinforced concrete before World War I made breaking defensive positions with ordinary bombs and cannons very difficult and even impossible. And this situation continued until the middle of World War II. But 300 years ago, Isaac Newton presented an approximation for the amount of projectile penetration into a barrier based on impact velocity, as well as the density and hardness of the projectile and barrier. Another factor is the flexibility of the barrier, which allows it to absorb the kinetic energy of the projectile and reduce its speed. In this way, the first bombs that simply fell on concrete could not do much damage to it, while in order to destroy such fortifications, it was necessary for the bomb to pierce the surface and the explosion inside the concrete to be able to break it up. However, if a projectile with a very dense and hard mass hits the concrete at a high speed, it can crush it, and only the rebar network remains, which still allows the projectile to penetrate and pass through. The next movement in this technological race during World War II occurred when British inventor Barnes Wallis prepared the world's first 5-ton earthquake bomb known as Tallboy, and then the 10-ton Grand Slam bomb for the British Air Force. These bombs had to be dropped from a very high altitude, and when they reached the vicinity of the target, their speed reached about 1,250 kilometers per hour, which, due to their high weight, caused them to penetrate several meters into the ground, and a delayed fuse made the explosion possible at maximum depth. The enormous explosive shock caused the layers of the earth to move in such a way that buildings within a radius of 150 meters collapsed, and a large pit was created, which pulled the surrounding buildings into it. These bombs were used for a number of the largest and most fortified facilities in Germany that had been built up to that day, including the docks of the German submarine fleet. These bases were very strong, with roofs and walls up to 8 meters thick, made of steel-reinforced concrete and granite, and Nazi submarines hid in them during refueling, repair, and rest. No weapon until then had been able to harm Hitler's formidable forts until Grand Slam ended their myth of invulnerability. To penetrate these extremely hard surfaces, the body and tip of the bomb were made of a very resistant alloy of chromium molybdenum, and the thick shell of the bomb accounted for more than half of its weight. 10 tons of weight and speed of the Grand Slam, when reaching the ground from an altitude of 6,700 meters, could pierce up to 6 meters of reinforced concrete and explode inside the concrete. However, these bombs were designed to sink into the ground and were not ideal for hitting reinforced concrete. According to Newton's theory, a projectile for maximum penetration must have a long length and a small diameter with high hardness and high velocity at the time of impact. While Grand Slam did not have an optimal design, but the next bomb, called Tallboy, was designed exactly according to these specifications. This alloy has a very high tensile strength, which is 6 times more resistant than the steel used in construction and 2.5 times more resistant than the steel used in artillery tubes. Although Eglin steel has a very high level of tensile strength, It has now been replaced by AF-96 steel exclusive to the U.S. Air Force, which has similar properties but is easier to produce and work with. This bomb can now only be carried by B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, and of course, only 2 of them can be loaded on each flight. Also, in order to obtain the appropriate final speed, the bomb needs to be dropped from a very high altitude. However, even the MOP has been upgraded 4 times so far in order to keep pace with the advances achieved in the concrete industry. While MOP can penetrate 60 meters into ordinary concrete with a resistance of 5,000 psi, it can only penetrate 8 meters into 10,000 psi concrete, and in UHPC concrete with 30,000 psi, even this amount is reduced to only 2 meters. Studies have shown that by adding polymer fibers, although the compressive strength of concrete only increases slightly, its resistance to impact is 7 times greater, to the extent that researchers at the University of Tehran in 1386, 2007/2008 Gregorian, even produced concrete with 50 to 60,000 psi. The next generation is micro-reinforced concrete, which is characterized by extraordinary flexibility, energy absorption, and resistance to chemicals, water, and temperature. Therefore, while UHPC can greatly strengthen the performance of current bases, new types of composite concrete have been introduced that have even more performance beyond that. The new product, called FGCC, is actually made of layers of different types of UHPC concrete. FGCC is made of an outer layer of very hard UHPC, then a thicker layer of UHPC with hybrid reinforced fibers, and finally, an even thicker layer than the second layer of UHPC with hard steel reinforced fibers. According to research by researchers from China, published in January 2022, the combination of these layers leads to a concrete that is much more resistant than each of the constituent layers. Therefore, according to the mentioned cases, it seems that the offensive technology of the United States has reached the end of the line in this competition, although the initial idea of the Disney bomb, that is, the use of bombs with a smaller diameter and a stronger propellant, may be able to increase the final impact speed. But it seems that physical limitations only limit the possible way to the use of nuclear bunker buster bombs, which has heavy consequences for the attacker. Hypersonic missiles without explosive warheads that rely only on very high kinetic energy at the moment of impact can also be among the options, but of course, in this case, as in the previous option, there is no guarantee regarding the extent of its effectiveness on FGCC concrete. What is your opinion about bunker buster bombs and their effectiveness? In your opinion, can these bombs really have an effect on the progress of Iran's nuclear industry, or are they just advertisements that appear every now and then in Western media? Please share your opinions with us in the comments section. Thank you for being with us until the end of this video. The Tallboy bomb was built by a captain of the British Royal Navy named Barnes Wallis. The idea of the bomb came to him when he was watching a promotional cartoon by Disney that showed a rocket bomb passing through several floors of a building. Wallace thought about what would happen if the same method could be implemented in the real world. The bomb in question for maximum penetration had to be designed with a smaller diameter, as well as less weight and ammunition. Tallboy had a length of 6.4 meters and a diameter of 1.2 meters with a very thick body that could carry 2,400 kilograms of explosive material, while the weight of more than 5.5 tons of the bomb caused all the kinetic energy to be concentrated on a very small surface. Also, 19 3-inch tubes as solid fuel rockets were placed next to each other at the end of the bomb, which were ignited 30 seconds after it was dropped and caused the bomb to accelerate to 1,600 kilometers per hour, or Mach 1.3. Although this bomb was designed by England, only the United States released 158 of them from its B-17 bombers in the last few months of the war. In post-war tests, the bomb was able to penetrate 4.5 meters into the concrete roof of the Valentin submarine bunker in Germany, not only passing through the roof of the bunker, but also sinking 1 meter into the concrete floor below it. While each bomber could only carry one Tallboy or Grand Slam bomb, the biggest problem with all of these bombs was the accuracy of targeting for impact from high altitude. At that time, there was still no guidance system, so the effectiveness of the bombs was entirely dependent on dropping at a suitable and accurate distance, altitude, and speed. However, bunker buster bombs built by the United States and other countries in the decades after World War II benefited from laser guidance, which enabled them to hit targets with very high accuracy. But in 1991, in the attack on Iraq, the United States encountered a problem with a series of command bases around Baghdad that were protected deep in the ground by several meters of reinforced concrete. The American forces estimated that the underground shelters were impenetrable to one-ton bunker buster bombs. America needed a bomb in the size of the Disney bomb, but with more destructive power. While there was no time left to design a new bomb, the 8-inch gun barrels of the Hodgehead artillery were used with some modifications as the bomb body. Finally, this bomb with a length of 5.7 meters and a weight of 2,200 kilograms, along with 285 kilograms of explosive material and a very resistant conical head was prepared. This bomb was equipped with laser guidance and flight-controlling fins of the GBU-27 type. In horizontal tests, the bomb was able to penetrate to a depth of 6 meters into the concrete, and in in-flight tests, it was able to sink to a depth of 30 meters into the ground. But only 2 of these bombs were dropped from F-117 bombers in Operation Desert Storm. One of them failed to find the target, but the other hit the target and destroyed an underground shelter. 2 days after this bombing, Saddam, realizing that there was no safe place left for him, surrendered. But in 2003, during the occupation of Iraq, it became clear that bunker buster bombs did not perform as expected, and their destructive power was relatively low. In fact, over time, with the development of UHPC concrete, which was first used by the United States Army in the 1980s, concrete technology had made many advances. This technology became commercially available to the public in the United States in the year 2000, and one of the leading countries in this field is Iran. Iran is an earthquake-prone country, and for this reason, it has made a suitable investment in earthquake-resistant construction technologies, which has enabled it to build very resistant underground bases for its atomic and missile program facilities. UHPC concrete benefits from high carbon steel fibers and glass carbon in its composition, which reduces the fragility of the concrete and increases its adhesion. Compared to ordinary concrete, this concrete is 10 times stronger. On the opposite front, from the early 2000s and after the United States realized the ineffectiveness of its bunker buster bombs, it turned to building an ultra-large bomb, even larger than the mother of all bombs. These efforts came to fruition in 2011, when the GBU-57 bomb from the class of bombs known as Massive Ordnance Penetrator, MOP, was unveiled. This bomb, with a length of 6 meters, a weight of 14 tons, and several tons of explosive material, can penetrate up to 60 meters into the ground. GBU-57 is made using Eglin steel, a very resistant and high-performance steel alloy that the Eglin Air Force Base Research Center of the United States has produced specifically for the new generation of bunker buster bombs.